of those days. It's okay. Hi. Hello, 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 hello,
Hello. If
hello,
you hear
hello.
a voice off stage
Bob,
or
it's
off camera,
okay. Hi, you're fine.
that is Daisy.
We have a very tired baby. Hey, you're fine, my love.
Doesn't seem to want to share her mommy with anybody.
Yeah, I get it. Logan's over there. It's okay. So my mom is sitting, we're in the living room or family, whatever room you'd like to call this. Family room. Sure. My mom is sitting here too in hopes that Daisy will relax. You know, you can only dream. Am I right? How is everybody? How is we all?
Happy Easter Sunday.
It is that. We were talking about it's really funny how Daisy,
You want to go outside?
you want to go outside? I think Grandma might fall over if you go outside. I say with love. I think Grandma might fall over if you go outside. Maybe not.
We can't do it right now, sweetie.
We have a 2.5-year-old, and she doesn't want us to do anything else. Yeah, it's oh, that's good. Yeah, do whatever that is. Yeah, get the big wheel out. Get the big wheel out. Get the big wheel out, guys. I'm sorry that it's such a chaotic beginning. How am I feeling? Well, I'm finally pretty much over the flu that would not leave my life for weeks.
Yeah. It's been a long haul.
It's been a real long, real fun flu. I see you, crazy pants. I see you. You roll that thing. She's got a Minnie Mouse big wheel. It's just tearing up and down. Will you read the chat questions this week? Yeah, absolutely. We always go through a bunch of them. Sorry, I'm reading as we go. Thank you. Jonathan says, not now, Daisy. We're busy. If only that worked, Jonathan. If only that was an actual option.
And it is not.
Where we could just say, Daisy, please, we're busy right now. And she would go, oh, yeah, absolutely. I completely understand. That's not.
I remember completely
Yes.
and vividly
Yes.
you never letting your mother talk on the phone.
No, it was very specific. See, this is the thing. You both have, it was very specific. When I was sick and in bed with mommy, I hated when she talked on the phone because I wanted her to snuggle with me and pay attention to me. And instead she was trying to work. That is why I would get very upset. That made me crazy. But that's because I was little and I wanted my mom's attention and I was sick. Happy Easter. Are you going to watch Easter Parade? If it's on.
Oh, it's on.
It's on. Yeah, I'm joking. Of course it's on. Guys, we know. We've got a peanut gallery next to us now. We've got my mom and Daisy. We've got a peanut gallery.
What I didn't know until the last time I saw a piece of it is that it opens with a gag sequence of Van Johnson and Judy Garland coming upon each other on the street, meeting for the first time. That was clearly staged by Buster Keaton.
Okay.
And no, I'm thinking of the good old summertime. Wrong season.
But you know what? I think it's a lovely memory that you have that just like I've shoved everything into one movie at this point in my life. I understand, and that is okay. Just see, it does look like we're working on all.
Oh, here's an easy one. Yes. Was Vincent Price in the Ten Commandments? Yes.
Maybe. It's on. There you go. It's on TCM tonight. Happy Easter to you, Jesse. I hope you're feeling better. Thank you, Arthur. I finally am. I honestly didn't think. I thought it was just it. I was going to live with the flu for the rest of my life. It was 2 weeks.
Speaking of the Ten Commandments, which I assume is on ABC television tonight.
Yes.
Because that's what they've done for 40 years.
Right. If it ain't broke.
That was the film that rejuvenated Edward G. Robinson's career.
Yeah.
And just Wednesday night, Alice and I went to the Egyptian Theater, to the newly restored Egyptian Theater, beautifully restored Egyptian Theater here in Hollywood, Sid Grauman's
She kicked it off the couch.
theater.
Hey, get it up.
Have you guys seen The Egyptian now? Have you guys seen The Egyptian since they redid it? I think they've done a nice job. I don't think it's anything spectacular, but it looks really nice.
But I'll tell you what is
And
a
the
big
seats are more
improvement.
comfortable.
The seats are so comfortable. We went for opening night of Noir City 2024.
Yep.
With hosted by Eddie Muller and Alan K. Rody. And we expected to just stay for the first picture because we were having trouble sitting through
Come here.
double features lately. But we were so comfortable.
That you just stayed
We
sitting.
just stayed.
Do you want Bluey or do you want the baby?
Opening night double feature was, in fact, first an Argentinian film called Never Open That Door. That's an exact translation, not a poetic translation. It was based on 2 Cornell Woolrich stories. And the second feature was The Window, RKO movie, 1948, also based on a Cornell Woolrich story. The man was incredibly prolific, and almost everything he wrote got translated either into a Hitchcock TV episode or a full-length movie. Rear Window is based on his story. Phantom Lady is based on his story. He was so prolific that, like Stephen King in a later generation, he published under a pseudonym so that he wouldn't flood the marketplace. So a lot of his stories in the 40s were published by William Irish, written by William Irish, a non-existent person.
Well, I mean, he existed.
He existed.
Just not in real life.
Not under that name.
Yeah. Just not in real life. Ken is saying, Leonard, I see you're going to be with Ben Modell at the TCM Festival in a couple of weeks, presenting some silent films. What is your all-time favorite silent film?
Oh, boy. That's hard to pick because we're talking about Chaplin and Keaton and Lloyd. Well, one of my big favorites is Ernst Lubitsch's The Student Prince with Norma Shearer and Ramon Navarro. I just adore that movie. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. And there you are.
I'm laughing, sir. Ben says, never open that door. What was it? A Mexican Fear McGee and Molly? I like it.
Good.
I like it.
Good reaction. Good reaction.
Yeah, TCM. I can't look.
It's a metaphorical door. Don't open the door to that dark part of your nature.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're torturing the child. In fact, we're doing no such thing. She is happy as a lark. But very expressive. Whoa, careful, honey.
Everything's fine, guys. We got 2 dogs, we got a baby, we got grandma, we got everybody done. Yeah. It's great. It's all great. P.S. Having the flu and a toddler, we decided should be an Olympic sport. My close mom friends and I were talking about that. Having the flu and a small human being is like a joke that's not funny. You're laying there shivering and they're going, slide. And I'm just like, not right now, baby. I gotta put another blanket on me. And she goes, swings? It's like, no. It's something else. Happy late Passover. We haven't had Passover yet, but thank you. We did. Yes, Daisy. We have had, it was Purim the other day. We did have a Jew activity the other day. It was Purim, which is like a Jewish Halloween, where everybody gets all dressed up. Terribly exciting time. We don't do that. Maybe Daisy will at some point. But that's always a good time. And Easter, we're Jews, so we don't really do anything for Easter, but I did take Daisy Easter egg hunting because that is what one does. So she met the Easter bunny yesterday, and a giant blow-up egg that they also had because apparently that's a thing.
A giant blow-up egg.
I don't think I showed you it was a giant egg that walked, had ears as well, and the kids thought it was great.
Well, if the kids liked it, that's all that counts.
Kids liked it, you know what I mean?
All that matters.
It just was what it was. But yeah, so we did some eggs, and I will tell you, putting a bunch of 1.5 and 2-year-olds in a room and going, find the eggs. All they did was put eggs in so one kid would put some in the basket, and the kid next to him would take that egg, and then the kid next to that kid would take that egg, and it was just thievery, basically. It was a line of thievery.
Nick, I was happy to introduce Labyrinth for Fathom Events.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you saw it. He thinks I gave it a better
review than others.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's not a perfect film, but it's an intriguing film.
Well, I think it's weird in the best way. It's weird in that it's something that you've never seen anything quite like it. And, hello, Mabel. It's a good day, guys.
When we interviewed Frank Oz just a few weeks ago.
Yes. Since we last saw you, we went to South by Southwest, which was a lot of fun and absolute chaos. And we did get to interview Frank Oz on stage, which was really, really cool. He was in such a good mood, which we appreciated immensely. And he was very, what he feels is really important right now is being able to speak to other speak to younger filmmakers, especially filmmakers looking to make comedy. Because he feels that he wants to pass on some of his words of wisdom, to which all of us go, yeah, great, please.
Bring it.
And he's directed so many different kinds of things.
He pointed out too that Jim Henson, his mentor and dear friend and colleague, was at heart an experimental filmmaker.
Yeah, very much so.
And if you only know those two feature films that he made, those two non-Muppet feature films that he made, try to find some of his short subjects online.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
He's a really interesting guy. And obviously, he's also worked with some really legendary people that you might forget about, because the movies he's directed, it's not a linear thing, to have done what he did. And so it's really interesting when you sort of get into, oh yeah, you did this, and then you work with this person. He's one of those people that, instead of saying Robert De Niro says Bob, and you go, Bob, it's never going to be not weird when somebody refers to somebody in that kind of you go, that's no. But yeah, he was sharing really lovely stories. It's posted now. You can listen to it, and it's free. Say
it again.
Our episode of Maltin on Movies with the one and only Frank Oz is available now wherever you listen to podcasts, and it's free.
And our sponsor, again,
is the U.S. Navy.
The United States Navy.
Be all that you can be.
So you don't have to enlist.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom.
You don't have to enlist. You just have to listen to the commercial.
Yeah. We just found that out, that's what they were using. Hilarious.
Someone asked about Lou Gossett.
Yes.
Louis Gossett Jr., who passed away this week.
And has a credit. It's one of the things we were talking about. Has a credit
in a 2023 movie. He's in the remake of The Color Purple. And which is nice. It's nice that first it's nice that they thought of him, remembered him.
Yes.
And made an effort to put him in the movie.
Yeah.
It's a smallish role, but he's there. And I was fascinated by the fact years ago that I read that he wanted very much to do a biographical film about Stepin Fetchit. Lincoln Theodore Perry, a black performer who in the earliest days of talkies became a star, a well-paid star under contract to Fox Films. He worked in several Will Rogers movies, which now renders those movies unscreenable because he's in them so much.
Yeah.
And if you've never seen Stepin Fetchit, he was the character, the persona that he created as of taking every negative trait of African Americans and exaggerating them to the almost past the breaking point.
I can't watch it. I find it distracting. I find it to be too much.
Yeah. Is the cliche the slur that they were slow?
Yeah.
He's slower than
He's
slow.
the slowest slow that's ever slowed.
Yeah.
It's hard. But he was successful and he worked. You know, and created a character name that is now a part of history.
Yes, he's in the dictionary now.
So
as a step and fetch it.
Yeah.
Which itself was a pun, of course. Step and fetch it.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't watch it.
But Lou Gossett wanted to tell the story of his life and his career and how he evolved, how he sort of was eclipsed by social progress, slow as it was.
Yeah.
And then kept working. You know who worked with him? Jimmy Caron.
Of course he did.
Jimmy worked with everybody.
Of course he did.
Jimmy
Mom, I would just like to point out that Quentin said, I miss when Alice used to make a guest appearance. She was on a few weeks ago, and she is currently sitting on the couch right there, trying to keep a small Daisy entertained because Daisy would not separate from me today. Everything's fine. I realize I don't know where a bunch of her dress up stuff is. Now she'll actually want to wear it. And so will you. This is my favorite thing, actually, of us all living together, is that my dad is constantly wearing bracelets and stickers and often forgets to take them off. And so he'll be sitting at dinner like with Minnie Mouse bracelets on and a bunch of unicorn stickers. And you're a good grandpa. You're a very good grandpa.
Thank you.
But it does make me laugh.
It's a nice compliment.
I just listened to your interview with the costume designer for Dune and Social Network. That was interesting, having a university student working on the film who had photos with Facebook when Facebook was developed.
That's my favorite story that she tells.
It's wild.
Jacqueline West is the person we're speaking about.
Yeah.
We just posted that on Friday.
Yep.
And we keep all of our inventory online.
Yeah, as I say, you can listen to any of it.
Listen to almost 8 years worth of conversations. Yeah. But Jacqueline West is the latest, and she was my guest in my class because she did Dune and Dune Part 2. And
but while doing that, had also just done
Killers of the Flower
Moon, which is what she was nominated.
Got her fifth Oscar nomination.
She's a fascinating woman, and the story you're mentioning, which I don't want to give much away because it's so cool. But in essence, somebody who was, I guess, interning for her. Mm-hmm. It turned out when she was working on Social Network, was actually in the same dorm room. You don't even know this yet. Hey, you. Jacqueline West was telling us, there was a girl. She went to Notre Dame High School, which is right by us, and then was a Harvard student, and was in the same dorm room as all the Social Network guys. Oh my God. And so when
same dorm room, the same dorm.
Sorry. So she had all of these photos of that time. So the wardrobe was not just exact, it was exact, which is wild. Anyway, she has some really wonderful stories and has had one hell of a career.
Yep.
And started in fashion design because that's what her mother did. So yes, she's a fascinating lady.
Worth listening to.
Yeah.
Very much worth listening
I'm curious, when you watch a movie, what is the ratio of movies you've seen before to new movies? I would say now, your old to new is almost even. Mm-hmm. Because you have more time.
I've gotten choosier about what I want to see, what I want to spend my time watching.
Yeah.
Last night, your mother and I invested
3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours.
But you liked the other one. You liked the earlier episode.
It's a current miniseries called The New Look.
Yeah.
And
on Apple, right?
On Apple Plus.
Yeah.
And it's purporting to tell the story of two legendary figures in the world of fashion in Paris, Coco Chanel and Christian Dior, and how they coped with the Nazi occupation and the aftermath. And I misread that it was 6 episodes long. Turns out it's 10. But the first episode is a grabber. The first episode absolutely sucked us in, and the history, and it's told in flashback from early 50s, mm-hmm. When things were starting to get back to normal.
Yeah.
And Ben Mendelsohn plays Dior, and Juliette Binoche plays Chanel. And they actually had little to nothing to do with each other. But this series tries to juxtapose their careers and the decisions, the difficult, the agonizing decisions they had to make during the Nazi occupation.
Yeah.
But I think they dropped the ball at a certain point.
You're saying it just went on too long, and this is true so much. I find that this is true for documentaries and also true for a lot of the episodic, is that they tend to stretch them. And so, like for documentaries, sorry about that, for documentaries, something that should be, let's say, 3 episodes is 6. And so that first episode does grab you, and then you sort of go, we're still doing this. Okay. And it happens over and over again. And I understand, again, everything comes down to money and how many episodes and all the rest of it. But, I wish sometimes they would just focus on how long something is good. Jay is saying, what are you more likely to rewatch today, Ben-Hur, Easter Parade? I would say it's whichever is on the TV when you turn it on.
Yeah, but
I think that's the accurate answer.
Easter Parade.
Easter Parade.
Yeah.
Yes, never a bad time. I read that they didn't really deal with Coco Chanel's anti-Semitism, but I know little about her. Well, see, and
it is part of her.
But this is why this is interesting, of course, is that when you're dealing with, if you existed at a certain time, whatever the hell's going on with the world, how do you then deal with what's happening around you?
Yeah.
And certainly if you are in Europe and you have Hitler coming your way, and the question is either you're going down too or you're saving yourself, what do you choose?
And in saving yourself, are you condemning someone else?
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? So
no, I often talk about what would we have done.
Well, I think that's everybody's. Yeah.
I mean, the witch hunt era, particularly.
Yeah. Well, learning about the way, again, especially because it's not that long ago, the way that people were blacklisted.
Yeah.
And if you name names, it got you XYZ.
Back to Edward G. Robinson for a moment.
But it didn't get you back.
Edward G. Robinson was definitely left wing in his politics, and had friends who were undoubtedly at one time communists.
Daisy, do you want help?
The man who
It opens up.
married his widow, director George Sidney, told us that he actually hid the actor Sam Jaffe in a secret attic room in his house, so that Jaffe could dodge the subpoena for him to go and testify.
Hi.
That's secondhand or third-hand information.
Yeah.
I can't verify it. But
It's over there.
There for several months.
Yeah.
6 months, something like that.
But yeah, it's
Anyway, so what happened to Robinson was he was never actually blacklisted, but
Graylisted.
he
graylisted.
well, his granddaughter was there. She said she just calls it blacklisting.
Yeah.
But what happened was he could still work, but not for the major studios.
Yeah.
So he did, for a stretch of 3 or 4 years, films that were not really worthy of him, and films that were independently produced or released to United Artists, and that's what we went to see, a film called Black Tuesday from 1954, and his role was not terribly original. He's playing a gangster who does a prison break, and et cetera, et cetera. But it was interesting to see, and it sparked my curiosity about something else unrelated to Mr. Robinson. This film is filled to the brim with 50s guys, guys who were in seemingly everything. Warren Stevens, Russell Johnson, Frank Ferguson, Peter Graves was the co-star of the film, and Gene Parker has a very good part as Robinson's sweetheart. Loyal, his loyal. I guess you call her a gun moll in gangster terms, but Vic Perrin, all these character guys, Jack Kelly, who later starred on Maverick. But some of them are billed and some of them are not billed. William Shallot turns up in one scene. And I often wonder, well, how did they work that? Was that a matter of an agent negotiating a deal and forgetting to put in the contract, and he must get screen billing?
A friend who said, I'll put you in.
Yeah.
Or a friend said, come work for a day, make a quick $100.
Yeah.
I wonder, and I don't know how I'm going to find out the answer to that, but I'm going to start exploring.
I always say this, your friends are like the 7 dwarves. You have an expert in everything. So I'm sure one of your dwarves is going to have an answer to this question, or they're going to know how to get to that question, which we will talk about your friend who just passed, because that was something that he did for so many people. You saw what I sent you that Marilee wrote.
No.
Yeah, I sent both of you those the screenshots of what she'd written.
Oh, but I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay. I'm going to go through some questions first, and then we'll get to that. Hassan says that he wasted 2 hours watching The 3-Body Problem on Netflix. My husband was obsessed. I watched some of it with him, but couldn't pay attention because Daisy was there. He really liked it. For me, because you have to really watch it, I kept looking up going, why is everybody melting? And then it was like, I can't, this isn't working.
This is not good second screen television.
No, this is not for that. But I liked what I saw. I say this is very much my husband's, like, this was made for him. And it had a lot of actors we like in it. So yeah, I didn't think it was great, but I can't really, I need to watch it without the 2-year-old. Someone earlier said, is Daisy in the Terrible Twos? I hate to label things. She's in the, I'm 2.5. And because I spend 24 hours a day with my mother, if you try to separate me from her, I will end you. That's where we're at. Speaking of which, hi there. I'm currently reading of Mice and Magic and loving it. Do you have any recommendations for further reading about the history of animation?
Well, yes.
Welcome back.
My
Daisy's back.
my good friend Jerry Beck, who was my research associate of Mice and Magic so many years ago, has written and edited a number of books, all of which are worthwhile and all of which are full of information. And 50 greatest cartoons, the greatest Looney Tunes of all time. If you punch his name into any source online, you'll find plenty.
Yeah. And we have, I mean, to go back to the podcast, we've interviewed Jerry, and we've interviewed your friend Mark Evanier.
Yep.
What are you doing? We've interviewed a number of your animation friends.
Yep.
And there, thankfully, is a lot out there. 1 second. Nick is asking if you were interviewed for the upcoming Harvey Comics documentary series. No, you were not, but I'll bet our other friends were. 1 second. I recently saw Chinatown. Do you have any thoughts on it? You know, Chinatown is good.
Well, living here, we understand the history.
Yeah, since my parents moved from New York to LA, they understand more of it.
I read a book called Rivers in the Desert. It's a true story of William Mulholland and the bringing of the water from the Owens Valley down to Los Angeles, and thereby enabling Los Angeles to become a modern city.
Yeah.
And though Robert Towne drew on that material for his fictional Chinatown, the real story is just as compelling. You could have shot that book. It would have been a different movie, but it would have been potentially just as good. It's an incredible true story, written by Margaret Leslie Davis, who wrote another great book about Edward Doheny, another name that rings
Doheny Drive. Yes.
Yeah.
If you live here, there are a lot of names. One of my favorite, more obvious fun facts is that there's an area here called Tarzana. Yes, Daisy. And it's called Tarzana because it's where the creator of Tarzan was from.
No,
or it's where he lived,
Yeah.
and they named it for him. So Tarzana. And apparently, have you guys ever actually been to the post office?
No.
There's a post
Keep
office
meaning
that's
to.
Tarzan themed. Well, you better get to it soon because you know it's going to end up going
Yes,
away.
I know.
You've only lived here for 40 years.
Yep.
You know,
Country club.
no rush. Yeah. Oh yeah, the country club. But yeah, so if you go to Tarzana, it's named for Tarzan, which I enjoy that. Craig has a movie roundup question. Shh. Have you seen Love Lies Bleeding? No. Have you seen Drive Away Dolls? I don't think so.
No, I want to see that.
You saw La Chimera.
Yes.
And we interviewed the phenomenal Isabella Rossellini. We just interviewed her 2-ish weeks ago. That was a trip. She's amazing. She's amazing. She's everything that I could possibly have wanted her to be. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like
La Chimera
Oh,
is
get out of here.
but Isabella Rossellini, she was everything.
she's charm personified.
She's amazing. Really.
And just gracious, and
We only got a half an hour with her, but I said we'll take it because it's her. And then you haven't seen the new Ghostbusters yet.
No.
So no. You have not been watching a lot of that. Lynn says, I've been listening to the audiobook of Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, crazy stuff.
Yes, it is crazy
that-
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much all true.
Yeah. My parents right now are listening to Barbara Streisand's book on tape that she reads. And for my mom, the biggest thing for her is she just has so many similarities. They grew up, they're almost the same age. They grew up really close to each other. So many of her references are things that my mom relates to. And you're both really enjoying her stories about everybody.
Especially her early show business experiences. Yeah. That's where we are right now.
Yeah. And you just heard, we love Phyllis Diller in this house. We love Phyllis Diller.
Jessie went to school with her grandson.
I went to school with both of her grandsons. Right. And her grandson Corey was in my grade. So
here's my quick Phyllis Diller story.
Yes.
I was a guest celebrity, I guess you call it.
You were
on the $10,000 pyramid. And having done that, I did then Password Plus.
Mm-hmm. Is that the one where you won someone $10,000?
That was the pyramid.
That was pyramid, where they like came up to you not that long. Yeah. Sorry. Memories.
Thank me. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was on with Phyllis Diller as the other celebrity guest on Password Plus. And when you do those shows, you take 5 in one lump. So you bring 5 changes of clothes. And Phyllis noticed that I had a different lapel pin on every jacket. And she asked me what that was about. I said, well, I just like them. I collect them, especially cartoon and advertising related pins. And for the next 15 years, everywhere she traveled, she found pins and sent them to me. It became a fixture in her life in our mailbox.
And she
and what a generous, thoughtful thing to do. So we're listening to
Barbara's stories are similar in that she was extremely generous and thoughtful
to a newcomer,
which just makes us all really happy. Someone says, are there any good Edward G. Robinson books?
Not that I have his autobiography, All My Yesterdays, and I if I read it, it's been too many years, and I don't remember if it's a very good book. But I think on the whole, the answer is no.
And then so we've gotten through a few of them now. Yeah. Tell me, please. Are you making faces? Are you making funny faces? Here. Can you see yourself? Are you making funny faces? Are you making funny faces? You're so silly. Please talk about your friend who just passed.
Ned Comstock. I would venture to say that Ned Comstock is acknowledged in the thank you roster of more contemporary film books than any other man alive. He just passed away, I think, Thursday night or Friday. And fortunately, his family his sister and niece were able to come to LA in time to be with him in his final days.
He had a rare form of cancer that returned.
He was the assistant librarian at the USC School of USC Cinema Library is what it's called. And this is how he operated. They don't have a computer search function for all the special collections that they have acquired over the years. He was their computer. So
this is something we talked about before he was sick or anything like that. Is you said you don't know what's going to happen when he goes,
because he retired several years ago,
because he was the human computer.
There was mourning in the land because he was the go-to guy. He would. Scott Eyman just dedicated his Cary Grant biography 2 years ago to Ned. That's the debt he felt he had accumulated through all the books that he's written. If he knew you were doing a book on Cary Grant and he was going through the Irving Thalberg papers and came upon an item that at a story conference in 1937, Cary Grant's name was mentioned, he'd Xerox it, put it in an envelope and send it to you. And he did this for dozens of people. He helped so many authors and so many researchers. And not only did he not expect anything in return, but as my friend Tom Weaver pointed out, you couldn't give him anything.
Yeah.
He wouldn't accept any tangible thank yous. If you offered him money, he wouldn't take it. If you offered to take him out to a restaurant, he wouldn't go. He was very shy, but he felt this was his purpose. He had found his purpose, and he was there for some 40 years. An amazing man, a lovely man. And
it's been really beautiful to read everything everyone is saying.
I did get to take him when he said he was retiring. I took him to lunch because I never got to know him that well at the one nice restaurant on campus. So I got to hear him reminisce about his student days and about his early years with the library and the special collections. Wow, what a guy!
Yeah. Well, as I say, seeing so many of our friends writing about him and everybody having the same reaction, which is just that it's everyone's loss.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Yeah, Days. It's everyone's loss. And that's something pretty incredible. If that is you're gonna pick your nose, thank you. If that's your legacy, that everyone just says, what will we do without you, and your kindness and your thoughtfulness and your skill set.
Yep.
It really is something special. So that's pretty amazing.
In the same breath, I should say that we celebrated on Friday
the
90th birthday of our dear friend Miles Kruger. Miles Kruger is the founder and soul.
He's the founder and the Miles. Yes. Yes.
Miles incorporated himself as a nonprofit organization called the Institute of the American Musical.
Where is he?
Miles is a walking encyclopedia.
Up to
a certain time.
Up to like 1960s? Where is he?
70s.
You think 70s? Okay.
60s.
He's up to his 60s.
Yeah.
Miles does not acknowledge musicals after 1975, 1980.
Yeah.
They don't exist for Miles. And you learn that and you accept it. Yes, Miss Hatfield.
But he was on a first name basis. He worked for Alan J. Lerner for a while. He knew Irving Berlin.
Yeah.
He knew Richard Rodgers. He knew so many people, and the pillars of 20th century musical theater and film.
And for his 70-something birthday, he commissioned a Hirschfeld, which is still one of the best things that anybody could do when Mr. Hirschfeld was still alive, to draw you. And it's a phenomenal, and I use that word, it's perfect. The drawing is perfect. And
he has a party every December 27th.
Yeah.
Because that is the anniversary of the opening of the landmark musical Showboat. which is based on a book by Edna Ferber. And he wrote a book about it. That is one of his few completed works that you can and should read.
Yeah.
It's everything you want to know and a lot that you didn't know you wanted to know about Showboat.
Which is what talking to Miles is like.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that. It's more information than you ever could have imagined. And he's very proudly writing his memoir right now.
Yes.
And the story's already absolutely phenomenal.
He lived in he was a quintessential New Yorker. No one can believe he ever left. But as he said the other night, he didn't leave New York. New York left him.
Yeah.
He felt the city was changing and not for the better. And he actually drove a U-Haul.
I can't even imagine.
Out here to California.
I cannot even imagine. Yeah. My favorite thing is that Miles, so whenever Miles has always come to our house for Thanksgiving, either my entire life or most of my life. And when I started going to the musical theater conservatory that I attended, I had all these musical theater nerd friends. Miles would it thrilled him to sit at a table with a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds and just tell all of these stories. And I think it was one of his favorite things that he ever got to do whenever he'd meet my musical theater nerd friends. Because he was just thrilled to talk to young people about what he was worried they didn't know. And yeah, so that was always really special. Yeah, Miles is right. Only Sondheim is great after the golden age. Well, I mean, it is funny. Don't say Andrew Lloyd Webber to Miles. If you want hell to rain down, here I am. How do you do? Miles would also hate everything Daisy watches because I hate most of what Daisy knows. Yes, Mythbusters, we spoke about Louis Gossett Jr. before. That's why we're not bringing it up again. We already spoke about him earlier. No, it is really funny when you get, as I say, you have a dwarf for everything. If you need your musical information, your singer-songwriters of a certain era, Miles will know. And then we have to move on to somebody else who's younger, but we don't know younger people, so I don't know.
He's one of a kind. Like Ned Comstock, Miles Kruger is one of a kind. They didn't make two.
No, they couldn't.
They made one.
The world couldn't handle more than one of Miles.
They made one.
It's as I say, watching him with my friends has always been a joy, because he's just like, young brains, let me form them. Yes, Miss Hadfield. 1 second. Doug House question is, Jonathan Demme got started as a publicist. What would that job have been in the 1960s? Very similar to,
not so different from today.
Yeah.
It depends on whether you're a publicist working for an independent PR firm or for a
studio. But it's quite similar.
Arranging screenings, sending out, maintaining a mailing list. And then as you go to a little higher on the ladder, developing relationships.
Yeah.
With journalists.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, that's the thing. There are publicists in our life who have been publicists. I mean, as long as somebody like Arlene, even,
yes.
We've talked about Arlene Ludwig, who I'm determined to get on the podcast. The woman cannot plan to save her life ever, but I'm going to find a way. We've talked about her before. Her father was Irving Ludwig, who
the first president of Buena Vista.
Yeah.
When Walt and Roy Disney decided to leave RKO Radio Pictures and to start their own distribution company.
Say that again with a deep breath.
Their own distribution company, which was located at the studio on Buena Vista Street in lovely Burbank, California. They decided to name it Buena Vista, and they hired a man who had worked for them since the days of Fantasia, when it was going to be a reserved seat attraction. And they trusted Irving, and their trust was not misplaced.
And then it became Arlene,
his daughter.
And Arlene was the publicist for Disney for a very long time, and to this day knows everybody. and has so many stories and is so funny. And she's amazing. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah.
And you two have been friends 50?
Yeah.
50-ish years?
Longer.
Longer.
Because the day that Walt Disney died, December 5th, 1966, I hope I'm getting it. If I'm not getting it right,
they'll tell you.
Right.
If you're not getting it right, they'll tell you. Don't worry.
I was home from school. I was sick.
Mm.
I heard it on the radio. You remember radio. And I knew then and there that I wanted to devote the next issue of my fanzine, Film Fan Monthly, to an annotated list of all of his films. So I had the Manhattan phone book. I opened it up to Walt Disney Productions, as it was then called, and made a cold call. And the operator answered, and I said, "May I speak to somebody in publicity?" She plugged me in, and this nice young woman picked up the phone. I told her what I wanted to do. She said, "How can I help? What do you need?"
And to this day, that's Arlene's response to pretty much
anything. How can I help? What do you need?
Yeah.
And you would think that that would be every publicist's response, but you learn otherwise.
It isn't. But yeah, it's amazing. She is an incredible woman and still is, and we love her.
How did I meet Harlan Ellison? I can tell you specifically.
You've told this story before, but it will never cease to amuse me.
I was working for Entertainment Tonight, and I attended an early screening of The Terminator, about which I knew nothing. And it was at the old Directors Guild building on Sunset Boulevard. It was a morning screening, like a 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. screening. I got there, and as I'm signing in, the man who had just finished signing in, a few feet away, heard my name and came to introduce himself to me. And that was Harlan. And he said, "The reason I'm here is that I understand that they have borrowed or stolen
Knowing
wholesale."
Harlan, he would have said stolen.
Yeah, stolen concepts and ideas that I developed for episodes of The Outer Limits, Twilight Zone. And we went into so we chatted for a little bit, and we sat somewhat apart. It was a very sparsely attended screening. And all during the film, I kept hearing, "Oh, geez, damn, oh, God." And as a result of him seeing the film, Harlan, who was not shy about calling his lawyer, he was highly litigious. There's now a credit for him. They had to burn in, this is before digital cinema made everything easy to do, but they had to burn in a credit for him in the film. And they did, because and he said that James Cameron admitted it in an interview in Starlog magazine, and they had to try to excise that paragraph anyway.
Yeah. Yes, Nick, Arlene should be a Disney legend. 100%. I don't know anybody who has worked at Disney for a long time who would disagree with that.
When
she should be.
When the Publicists Guild gave her an award a few years ago, you know who presented it to her?
Who?
Jointly?
Oh, was it Angela?
No. It was Julie Andrews and Jodie Foster.
Yeah, there you go.
Both of whom had worked with her.
Yeah. Hi, Logan. I'm telling you, we got dogs, we got babies, we got whatever you need is here.
And Jodie apparently had a regular tennis game with.
Of course she did. Do you want to go down, or do you want just the dogs to go away? She says, "I don't know what I want." Hi, Logan. Nick is asking, I was meaning to ask this weeks ago, but what do you think of Fox Searchlight's David Greenbaum taking over the Disney live-action film division over Sean Bailey, who didn't seem to care about doing original ideas?
I don't have an opinion. I don't know the people involved, and I haven't.
You can't knock that with your feet.
I haven't looked at their track records, so I cannot say. I just hope somebody.
You just can't touch that.
I just hope somebody pays attention to that Fox library.
Yeah, I hope so. Daisy. Most stubborn small. I always say I thought my husband was the most stubborn person in the world. It's not him, it's you. It's his offspring. Did you enjoy the Oscar ceremony this year?
Fairly well. It was it was undercut by the fact that so many people predicted the winners. And so it felt to me almost anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was.
Whereas it should be the pinnacle, which it was for decades.
Yeah.
It should be the pinnacle.
There's just too many there's too many award shows.
Too many pretenders and wannabes
Yeah.
that clutter the calendar before we get to the Oscars.
That's Grandpa's.
And the only way to solve that is to shorten.
It is a rabbit. It is. That's Bugs Bunny.
Only way to shorten the span of time.
Days.
From the beginning of the new year to the Oscar ceremony, to the Oscar voting and the Oscar ceremony. And that may sound sacrilegious to some people.
No,
I really believe that's the way to go. And what will this group do? What will that group? They'll do. They'll have to figure it out.
I don't care.
They'll have to figure it out.
My answer to that is I don't care. Some people love the ceremony this year, which is fine. Our reaction, well, the memorial was a mess, but it's always a mess. But yeah, we just kind of went, like, I don't know. I think it is hard that there's just so many award shows. People do so many interviews. The press tours that they do are huge.
Right. By the time you see them accepting their Oscar, you've seen them accepting other things.
Every
giving speeches,
object.
Being thankful, and they're all sincere.
Yeah.
All genuine.
Yeah.
But you've kind of been there and done that.
Yeah. So that's really tough. That what it feels like, honestly, for folks in the industry is like, okay, it's finally over. Instead of feeling like, oh my God, we've made it to the Oscars, it feels like, oh, thank God, when this is done, we don't have to do this anymore for a few months.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate. I think that's really unfortunate. But it just kind of is what it is. There's a million award shows. There's a million new groups that have come.
And they're all feeding off the Oscars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the whole point is that you want to have won. You want to have given the person the award before the Oscars so they can say, we gave so-and-so this first.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. It's just, we've talked a lot about this. I don't love it. Patrick says, my question, of the 22 Moment of Truth films made for NBC from April 1993 to December 1998, which one do you recommend most or least, and why?
I have to admit that I don't know what the Moment of Truth films are. I need to.
I'm looking. I don't know what they are either.
I need to explore that.
They're made for television films made during the 1990s. Well, that would make sense. So most made for TV stuff he did not see for quite a while because there was just no time. Having to keep up with all of the movies because he was reviewing so actively, not just for the book, but also on TV. He didn't really get to see much.
Something had to give, and it was TV movie.
It's only recently, really, that you've kind of gotten into watching TV stuff again because you now you have the time if you wish to do that. So there's more TV shows and series that you'll watch with mommy. But for the majority of, your reviewing life, you really haven't been able to watch much else, which all makes sense. It all makes sense. This child. And Ken's saying, I have 3 new Looney Tunes Blu-rays, and I've noticed while watching that some of the cartoons don't have director or other credits on them during or after the title. Was that a common practice during a certain time of production?
Usually those are reissue prints. They say Blue Ribbon. They have a Blue Ribbon logo. Why they decided to cut out the credits, I don't think it has anything to do with anything but expediency. And the folks at Warner's who have been working on those Blu-rays have tried to go back and get the original
Yes, Dave.
copies wherever
Dave.
possible, but sometimes they alter the original negative.
What do you want?
With that blue ribbon reissue
Which
that
one do you
doesn't
want?
say whether it's
You want Louis?
Charles M. Jones or Robert Clampett or I. Freeling. Warners didn't like the Eddie Seltzer, the man who supervised and took over for Leon Schlesinger when Schlesinger sold the
Want to show Grandma Pepper?
cartoon studio to Warners, didn't like nicknames. So Tex Avery became Fred Avery. That was his given name. And Chuck Jones was Charles M. Jones.
Yeah.
And Fritz Freeling was I. Freeling. Isidore was his given name. So had to keep it formal until the regime changed.
Yeah. It is funny, isn't it? That's something I always thought about, because I've asked you this before, and I'm sure, again, with Googling or whatever you can find, but I've asked you so many times, do you remember when credits first started becoming what they are now, where it's, 4,000 credits?
70s.
Yeah.
But even then, it was just department heads.
Yeah.
And not every department head.
Yeah. Because now, as I say, this is one of those things where it must have been sort of a slow migration where it became, so it's so-and-so. Okay, now it's so-and-so and their assistant. Okay, now it's so-and-so's assistant's assistant. And so on and so forth, where they start to get into all the detail. Because if you think about what it was like when movies like Lord of the Rings first came out or the Harry Potters, they would actually talk about how long the credit sequences were.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever remember anyone saying, "Oh, the credits for Harry Potter are 8 minutes."
I remember, I had the costume designer for The Lovely Bones, Peter Jackson's film, and I greeted her in the hallway as the film was unspooling inside, and she said, "Relax, you have 14 minutes." 14 minutes.
14 minutes. It's wild, and
yet, until just the past 2 years, and I haven't found the exact answer, but John Burlingame told me about this, they're now crediting the musicians who play on the soundtrack. We've known the truck drivers' names for decades, but only now.
But never the musicians.
The musicians, yeah.
I mean, but again, it is a whole thing. So my whole life, I don't know about you guys, my whole life, we do not leave. What is your line? I do not leave a theater.
So you've been threatened with civil and criminal prosecution.
That was the rule in our household. You sit there through the credits, through all of them. And we always did. Even when I was a little kid, we always did. And I just thought that was what you did. Well, the very first time I went and saw a movie with someone else's parents, and I will never forget this, we went and saw a movie. We saw Small Soldiers. I remember what it was. And they got up and left. And I think I just must have thought they went to the bathroom or something. They came back and my friend's dad started yelling at me. And he said, "Why didn't you come with us? We thought you were lost. We got so nervous." And I said, "I can't leave." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I can't leave. I have to watch the credits." And I don't know if he thought I was kidding or if he thought I was nuts, but I was just like, I can't. So through all of my years of starting to see movies with other people, they just came to understand that I sit through credits. And half the time they'd say, "All right, we'll see you in the lobby," which is fine. Every now and then, they'd go, "All right, I guess I'll sit here too." They're very confused. Then I would sort of tell them about some of the games my dad and I like to play, things like finding either the craziest job or the craziest name.
Foam latex supervisor.
Exactly. Or finding someone with a name that you just go, that's fun. That's not one you see every day. And then when IMDb, and this is only in the last few years, when IMDb and the internet in general started to become more reliable, but also as more and more of the press releases. Nowadays, when we go to a screening, it used to be we'd get to a screening and you'd be given a packet.
Yep.
And the packet would have, if not all of the credits, some of the credits, the major ones that they felt were important. And there would be a bit of information. Now, more and more, they will say to you, "We'll email them to you if you want them. If you want them." Because most people may not even feel the need. And that, too, was just like, what? So for me, even though now technically I don't have to sit through the credits because I can read whatever I want to read. I just think it's part of the whole thing that you sit and you wait till it's done.
Part of the experience. And here in Hollywood, you would think that fellow workers,
more of that would happen.
Would want to at least be respectful of.
By the time those lights come up, we are alone. We are all alone. And again, that's what I got used to as a kid. Even when we go to screenings, like actual screenings, even when I was younger, the lights would finally come up and it would just be the two of us in that theater, or it'd be the three of us, me, my mom, and my dad, all alone. Everybody else left. And now they really leave. They really leave. I mean, in droves. A big one for us, and again, to this day, is asking people to move because they'll be standing in front of you while you're trying to look at the screen. And you have to, as politely as possible, go, excuse me, I'm trying to read this, excuse me. Yeah. And you show the credits to the end in your class. The only time you end it early is if you have to. If it has worked out.
Sometimes the guest, sometimes the director.
Yeah.
Will say, cut them off. Let's start the conversation.
And you go, what? But yeah, so generally the kids will unknowingly, they're forced, watch everything.
Yeah.
Even my husband tends to do is he gets up, goes to the bathroom, comes back and says, are they done yet? And as long as he lets me sit there, I'm cool with that. Yeah. He can go do whatever he needs to do. It's fine by me. Show your toys.
All right. I'm just going to show one.
Show three.
As a teaser.
No, they're here. You brought them down. You're going to have to take them back upstairs because Daisy's going to play with them.
Right.
So do it quickly.
A collectible doesn't have to be ancient to be desirable and collectible. I'm still in mourning for the Warner Brothers store and Warner Brothers catalog.
R.I.P.
Because they came up with such wonderful things as this and this feather duster, and perhaps most incredibly, this shaving kit, shaving brush and razor, commemorating Bugs and Elmer as they appear in Chuck Jones' classic cartoon, The Rabbit of Seville. I mean, that's so specific to that one cartoon. Even if you're a Bugs Bunny fan or a Chuck Jones fan, if you haven't seen that cartoon, this makes no sense.
Nope. I mean, it's funny either way.
Yeah.
It's still funny, but it's ridiculous. Yes, Nick says, thanks a lot, AOL. Exactly.
Yeah. Worst business.
Kathy says, best store. I have kitchen items. So do we. We have so much stuff from that store. My God. And if you ever got a chance to go to the one in New York, it had a spaceship inside that showed cartoons. You could sit in the spaceship and watch cartoons. People think that today we have all the technology. No, we don't. We suffer because we don't have the Warner Brothers store.
Yeah.
Lies.
Yeah.
I like this. I find it a challenge to see who stays the longest in the theater after a movie. It's like movie credits chicken. It will be us. If you were wondering, it will be us. Yes. And as soon as Daisy's old enough to be in a theater, she will do the same. And we will sit there and I'll say, Daisy, we wait until it's just us and that poor guy with the broom and the dustpan. That's it.
When we moved here to LA, I learned that Todd McCarthy, who was then reviewing for Daily Variety, was in the habit of stopwatching movies.
Yeah.
To get the absolutely accurate running time, which was a great boon to us when I was still doing the movie guide, the paperback movie guide, because getting that information is surprisingly difficult. Mm-hmm. You get contradictory answers, but when I knew Todd had done it, I knew it was the real deal.
Yeah. No, there was all sorts of stuff. Yeah. All sorts of stuff. We still, when I was little, my dad got a pen. Someone gave him a pen that had a light on it attached so he could write notes. I was very proud of myself because I learned how to write notes in the dark. I still can. I got really good at writing in the dark and keeping spaces and stuff. These are the skills that will serve me no purpose anymore, but I used to be able to do it. And I, you know, add that to the resume. Hi, I can write in the dark. How you doing? I used to take notes on movies in the dark from my dad. You're welcome. You were starting to say goodbye, and I will say goodbye with you. I cannot believe it's April tomorrow.
We should be here next week.
We will be here next week.
And then TCM.
Then we get into TCM,
Festival.
but I don't know if it's that one or the following one.
Following week.
It is the following. I think we have 2 weeks of you. So to everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I do hope you have a nice Easter if you are celebrating. Every time someone asks me what we do, I say we're Jews. We have no Jesus, but I hope you all have a good time. Be safe and
be kind.
Be kind. Daisy, you want to say bye-bye? Can you say bye?
Bye.
Bye. Mwah,
Thank
good
you,
job. Bye.